That ceaseless inner narrator dissecting your worth, amplifying your fears, and screaming, "You're not enough," is neither your essence nor your ally. It's a phantom, an evolutionary accident mistaken for identity. Ancient Zen masters saw this ego construct as humanity's primal illusion, a ghost haunting your decisions like a puppeteer, warping relationships through invisible filters, and trapping consciousness in cycles of craving and aversion. You believe you desire success, ache for validation, or hunger for love, but these are whispers from a phantom tenant occupying your awareness, a specter that mistakes reactivity for strength, attachment for purpose, and suffering for authenticity. Like a lost spirit clinging to relics, it latches onto your job title as proof of existence, collects past traumas as evidence of solidity, and builds fortresses from social labels: successful, failure, victim, genius, borrowing weight from transient reflections. When ninth century Zen master Huang Po declared, "The ignorant cherish the illusion of I," he exposed the psychological enslavement binding us. You chase promotions to feed the ghost's bottomless hunger, scroll through digital validation to numb its existential dread, sabotage intimacy when true connection threatens its control, and wage silent wars against imagined slights to sustain its fragile fiction of separateness. Until you see this ghost as what it is, a thought form mistaking itself for the thinker, you remain possessed by a shadow. Exorcism begins with mirror gazing, a surgical dismantling of the ghost's architecture of self. Sit before a mirror at dawn or dusk, thresholds where light and shadow intermingle, and stare unblinking into your own pupils. See how the eyes reflect the room, the window, the sky beyond. Now speak aloud with visceral conviction. I am not this face sculpted by time and genes. I am not this body, a temporary constellation of borrowed stardust. I am not these thoughts, weather patterns passing through awareness. Feel the ghost recoil as its foundations crumble. Notice the subtle vibration in your hands, the coolness of air entering nostrils, the pressure of the seat beneath you, sensations existing before the mental label, my hands, my breath, my body. Where is the I here? Is it in the cells regenerating and dying each second? In the breath that began without your command? Or in the vast silence behind the observation? Zen reveals you are not the reflection, but the mirror itself, pure, borderless awareness that contains all forms without being contained. The ghost thrives when consciousness mistakes itself for its transient content. When you believe I am angry, rather than anger arises in the space I am. Practice this gaze daily. When shame floods your chest after a mistake, ask, who is ashamed? And trace the sensation like a scientist tracking electrical currents, without narrative, without judgment. Observe how the ghost's solidity dissolves under non-judgmental attention, like mist evaporating before morning sun. This is not passive meditation. It's active soul archaeology excavating the lie of separate self. Next, deploy Koan Warfare, annihilating thought patterns with absurdity-tipped arrows. Your ego sustains itself through relentless storytelling. My colleague undermined me. This failure defines me. I deserve more than this. These narratives are the ghost's oxygen. Shatter them with a Zen koan. Those paradoxical riddles forged in 12th century Chinese monasteries to short-circuit conceptual thinking. Choose one. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Or, what was your original face before your parents were born? When the ghost whispers, you'll never succeed, detonate the koan in your mind. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Feel thoughts stutter and stall like a broken film reel. Mental momentum fractures. Why? Koans expose thinking as a self-referential loop, a hall of mirrors where the ghost endlessly narrates its own fiction. They aren't puzzles to solve, but depth charges to rupture the prison of language. A Wall Street trader haunted by indecision kept one hand clapping, written on his Bloomberg terminal. Each time analysis paralysis struck during market volatility, he'd repeat the koan until the noise collapsed into wordless intuition, making trades not from fear, but from the clarity of emptiness. Within months, his performance transformed. The ghost starves when deprived of belief in its stories. It withers when you stop mistaking its commentary for reality. Then deepen the exorcism through grave tending, confronting mortality to evaporate the ghost's trivial obsessions. Walk through rain-soaked cemeteries where moss devours granite. Kneel beside weather-worn headstones and trace names erased by centuries. Smell the damp earth, exhaling the scent of decay and renewal. Zen masters called this contemplating bones, not to morbidly fixate on death, but to viscerally realize every identity the ghost clings to, smart, beautiful, important, ends as anonymous calcium in soil. The promotion you crave, the insult that festers, the envy that poisons your heart, all become equal in the silence beneath these stones. Now engage your senses with monastic intensity. Press your palm against a sun-warmed tombstone until heat vibrates through your arm. Listen to crows arguing in pines until their cries dissolve into pure sound. Watch fog swallow distant hills until you are the swallowing. The ghost cannot survive full sensory immersion. It feeds on mental time travel, dragging awareness into regret over yesterday or dread about tomorrow. When you anchor consciousness fiercely in the now, tasting the iron tang of rain, feeling the prickle of grass on bare feet, seeing how light fractures through leaves, the phantom loses its grip. A recovering opioid addict practiced this at his dealer's street corner, standing motionless, absorbing the screech of subway brakes, the stench stale urine, the neon glare on wet pavement until craving vanished into sensory overload. Why? Haunting requires an absent host. When you fully inhabit your body temple, the ghost becomes homeless. True freedom blossoms not in the absence of the ghost, but in the crystalline realization of its fundamental unreality, a mirage that evaporates when stared into with unflinching presence. This is the great Satori, understanding that the ego was never an enemy to slay, only a shadow puppet mistaken for substance. Like awakening from a nightmare where you battled dragons with trembling hands, only to open your eyes and find moonlight streaming onto empty palms. The struggle ceases not through victory, but through the dissolution of the battlefield itself. Relationships undergo alchemy when you encounter others without the filter of I. Conversations become pure resonance where listening unfolds without the whisper, "What does this say about me?" Зрение, где любовь течет без плоти, я получаю достаточно. Component placement, where conflict resolves not through winning, but through the quiet observation. Ah, this is your ghost speaking to mine. Professional life transforms from a desperate performance into a sacred play. Decisions arise like water finding its level. The entrepreneur invests not from greed's hunger, but from opportunity's clear call. The artist creates not for applause, but because the brush demands movement in this singular moment. Even mundane acts become rituals of awakening. Eating an apple becomes a universe of sensation. The crisp snap echoing through jawbones. The tart sweetness flooding taste buds. The juice tracing sunlight paths down your wrist, with no phantom narrator grading the experience. This is Zen's ultimate rebellion, living as the boundless sky while thoughts pass like clouds. The mirror of awareness stands empty, yet infinitely receptive, reflecting cherry blossoms without clinging to pink, holding thunderstorms without fearing lightning, cradling laughter and grief with equal, weightless grace. Walk forward now through the world you once haunted. Feel the grass beneath your feet without labeling it mine. Hear the distant siren without constructing a story. The ghost's chains were always woven from moonlight. You are the open field, the unbound horizon, the silence beneath all sound. Breathe and know this emptiness as home.